أعوذ بالله من نفسي ومن الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وعجل فرجه. Just to establish the link of the discussion we are having now is that the topic that we have on our mind is that there is a call of Imam Zamana, and it's the same call of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. In Karbala, Imam Hussain alayhi salam called for Nasiri. He said, Hal min Nasir Yansuruni. And Imam Zamana Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajul Sharif today, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, has raised the same call. He says, is there anyone out there to help me, to lead my cause, to defend my cause? And what we've discussed so far is that we are trying to participate for the cause, but we are not actively involved. And what is it that I should be doing so that I can be actively involved and I can actively contribute towards this cause? So this is where we are now. Yesterday we discussed about the system and how it impacts our mentality, how it impacts our subconscious mind, how it impacts our personality, and how we are slave to the system and we don't even realize that. We are unknowingly slave to a system. And today we are going to talk about how do I turn back, how do I break away from this system and help Imam Zamana Jallallahu Ta'ala Farajul. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I don't intend to pinpoint at anyone here, but we are going to talk about some steps here. That how we are going to contribute, how we are going to help, how we are going to contribute towards the cause of Imam Zamana. And I honestly think that we should come prepared in a way that we should at least bring a pen and paper to write down so that we remember that here are the things I'm supposed to do. Because if we truly love Imam Zamana, then we should be prepared, especially when we know that some information is going to be delivered, which is going to talk about what I'm supposed to do today. In the state where I'm thoroughly confused as to what my responsibilities are, how can I actively participate towards hastening the zuhur of Imam Zamana? So I encourage you all that from tomorrow onwards, please carry something with you so that you can just jot down a couple of points so that at least maybe a week later or maybe 10 days or maybe a year later you come across this thing and say, oh, I'm supposed to do these things for Imam Zamana, and it slipped out of my mind. That will act like a reminder for us. So inshallah, I encourage you all that going forward, carry something along with you. You can make notes in your mobile phone if you want or anywhere, but make notes. We're talking about our Imam, the Imam of our time, who's in ghaibat for 1200 years. We're talking about him. And we're talking about how and what can we do so that he can reappear soon. Now, to achieve this task of turning around and contributing towards the cause of Imam Zamana, we need to work at 3 levels. One is at individual level, second is at family level, and third is at social level. Now, irrespective of at which level you wish to work upon, there are certain preliminary and prerequisites that need to be in place. And we are going to talk about these aspects today. Tomorrow, day after, and so on, we will talk about the other levels, which is individual level, family level, and social level. So today we are going to cover the prerequisites, that these are the essentials. If we do not have them, we cannot work at individual level, neither at family level, nor at social level. So what is the first thing that is required or that is expected for us to have? The first thing is Iman in Deen. We need to have that faith and Iman in Deen. In Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, aminu. If I translate that in English, it means, oh, you believe. Oh, those who you believe. Believe. No. English does justice to the translation. Let me say that in Urdu. ऐ वो लोगो जो ईमान ला चुके हो, ईमान लेकर आओ. That means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing at us and telling that you claim that you believe, you claim that you have iman, but no, you don't have iman. Iman lekar aao. That's the meaning of amenu. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, amenu. It's a command, imperative term. That means we need to have iman in our deen. What does that mean? It means that one has to believe that Islam is a divine religion. It is an eternal religion. It is a solution for mankind from no when till eternity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I've sent Islam for you, and it's a solution for mankind till eternity. We have to believe in it, learn it, and apply it. We have to learn deen. After having iman, the first thing that we should be doing is to learn usul-e-din. When I say usul-e-din, it's not about just knowing that, what we teach our children, awwal tawheed, dusre adl, tisre nabuwat, chauth imamat, panchwa qiyamat. No. We need to truly understand what is tawheed. Is tawheed an aspect or an element to believe in, or is tawheed something to be practiced? See, tawheed is, when we say usul-e-din, we say that, okay, we need to believe in usul-e-din. No, the question is usul-e-din something to be believed in, or is usul-e-din something to be practiced? You might raise a question, how do I practice imamat? How do I practice nabuwat? How do I practice qiyamat? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. And that's why He says, go learn usul-e-din. Not just that, He says, apply it. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, aminu. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, I'm giving you the summary of it, not the exact words, because it was difficult for me to translate from Arabic to English. It was not doing justice, so I thought I'll put the summary across. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It is worth, even if I have to whip my ashab to go and learn deen in depth. It is worth it to whip them so that they gain deeper marifat of deen. That means Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is saying that it is so important to get deeper marifat of deen that it is worth even to get whipped for it. Go, get it, get in deep. Know more about our own religion. You must all have heard of Ayatollah Behjat. He's a very famous Arif from Iran, and he's very popular among Mu'mineen. He has a student by name of Ayatollah Tahriri. After Ayatollah Behjat passed away, the great scholars in Qum believe that Ayatollah Tahriri is almost at the status of Ayatollah Behjat. Ayatollah Tahriri wrote a book on Hadith Unwan Basri. Inshallah, if there is time and some other time, we discuss about what this Hadith Unwan Basri is. But in this book, he says that, let me read Farsi for you first and then I'll translate for it. He says, Bandagi hamrahe ikhlas, servitude along with ikhlas, dar deen, in religion, niyaz be marifat sahih as deen wa ma'arif on darat. It needs us to have the right kind of marifat. So if we want to be servant, mukhlis servant, we want to do servitude with ikhlas, we need to have the right kind of marifat of deen. Any general level of marifat is not enough, because that will not lead us to the servitude by ikhlas. If you want to do servitude by ikhlas, you'll have to get deeper marifat of deen. So if I want to turn around and do something, here are the things that I need to do. One, have Iman in Deen. 2, learn Usul-e-Deen and practice and apply it. And implement all of the Furu-e-Deen. Now, one of the greater challenge we face in our community is that when we talk about Furu-e-Deen, immediately those 10 things comes to our mind. Starting from namaz till tawalla and tabarra. We think these are the only Furu-e-Deen. We think these are the only wajibat for us. No, that's not true. We've got a whole lot of set of wajibat related to us apart from this, which if we do not perform, we will be questioned and punished. Let me quote 2 of them here. I'm quoting 2 because these are popular and we know about them. One is hijab and the other is sile rahmi. And then there is a whole lot of things there. But then so apart from 10 things, we have a whole series of wajibat. But we don't even finish or complete these 10 things. We don't even work on those Furu-e-Deen after the 5th one. Some of them even don't perform the 5th one, the khums. Jihad is out of question, but Amru bil Ma'ruf and Nahi az Munkar, we are least bothered about it. Tawalla and tabarra, yes, we actively do, but not the way it is supposed to be done. And then rest of the wajibat, we think, okay, we've done namaz, we've done roza, we've done hajj, we've been to ziyarat, we've given got tired. No, that's not deen. That's not deen. Deen says you have to apply all the wajibat and muharramat. One person approached Ayatollah Bahjat, may Allah protect him and raise his levels in Jannah. He went to Ayatollah Bahjat and said, Agha, I want to be like you, a great arif. Tell me if there is a specific wird that you keep reciting like 1,000 times or 10,000 times a day, or any particular action that you do every day so that you've reached these levels. I want to reach these levels. Ayatollah Bahjat says, look, if you want to reach these levels, you just have to do 2 things. 1, practice all the wajibats and stay away from all the muharramats. That's it. You do this, you will reach to my levels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not asking a lot from us. Later on, we will be discussing about what are wajibat and muharramat and things like that, and we will see why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has emphasized so much on the wajibats and has emphasized so much to stay away from muharramat. So apply. Learn Furu-e-Deen and apply them. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, please recite a salawat. An amil, as in a practitioner, an amil without basirat is like a person treading a path away from the path. And however fast or with however speed he treads the path, it only leads him away from the path. That means, if I am practicing Islam without really going in depth, without really understanding it, I'm not on Sirat al-Mustaqim. I'm next to it. And not necessarily parallel, I might be actually traveling away from it. And the faster I practice, the more I practice it, the more I'm getting away from Sirat al-Mustaqim. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, have this information. Go, learn. Get absolute marifat, the right kind of marifat that is required for us to practice the right deen. Now, a lot of us confuse between these 2 terminologies. Not from the perspective of understanding the terminology, but when it comes to application of it. One is understanding the religion, and one is to have faith in it. I understand Islam, but do I believe in it? A lot of people in history, we would see in examples that I've gone across, a lot of people had a good understanding, but they did not have faith in it. One of the best examples are the magicians of Fir'aun. When Hazrat Musa alayhi salam went there and did the mu'jiza, they understood that yes, this is mu'jiza. They understood that he is the prophet sent by divine God, but they did not have faith and believe in it. And that's why they did not change their stance. Some of them did, they got punished, but a lot of them did not. A lot of us think that if we understand religion, that's enough. No. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, aminu. Understanding is something else. Having faith and believing in it is something else. Today we are going to look at this aspect of Iman, having faith and belief. What does that mean? However, I would want to quote 2 ayats from Holy Quran, 1 ayat and 1 hadith. And I would read the translation from here. I would want you to pay attention. If any one of you want to note down the address so that you want to go back and refer again later on, it's Surah Nur, it's chapter 24, ayat number 55. It goes like this. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allah has promised those of you who have faith and do righteous deeds. Have faith meaning Iman, and righteous deed is Amalus Saleh. So, Allah has promised those who have Iman and those who do Amalus Saleh that He will surely make them successors in the earth, just as He made those who were before them successors. Successors, the term used in Arabic here is khulafa. We will make you khulafa. Khulafa means someone who leads. Successor here means someone who's a leader. You succeed them, you become leader. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we promise you that if you have Iman and you practice good deeds, that is Amalus Saleh, we will surely make you successors the way we made those before you. And He will surely establish for them their religion which He has approved for them, and that He will surely change their state to security after their fear. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if you practice religion, you will become successor, that is leaders, and we will guarantee you safety. We will guarantee you safety while they worship me, not ascribing partners to me. Whoever is ungrateful after that, it is they who are transgressors. That means those who have Iman and they do not practice, they are the transgressors. It's a very, very strong ayat. It says you have Iman but you're not practicing. Therefore you will not be counted among those who would be delivered on the day of judgment. Now even stronger than this is the hadith from Imam Baqir alayhi salam. Please recite the salawat. The hadith that Imam Baqir alayhi salam states here is this. And it's a very strong hadith. He says, I swear upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no excuse for us from the hellfire. I swear upon Allah that there is no excuse for us, Imam, whom we believe to be Masoom. There is no excuse for us from hellfire. And between us and Him, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no personal relationship or favoritism, like family. There is no hujjiyat upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala towards us. That we are Imam, therefore He has hujjiyat and He is liable to, deliver us on the day of judgment and not punish us. No, that's not the case. We do not seek taqarrub, closeness, from Him except through ita'at. Ita'at meaning practice. We don't seek closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except through the way of practicing the religion. Hence, whoever from you all is obedient towards Allah, our wilayat is beneficial for them. And whoever is disobedient towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is, does not follow the religion the right way or commit sins, our wilayat and love has no benefit for him. And then he says, woe unto you, do not be deceived. Woe unto you, do not be deceived. He repeats that twice. So he says, even for an imam, there is no excuse from hellfire until and unless we practice the religion. And if you love us, you will only benefit from us when you practice the religion. Therefore, if I want to bring about a change, I need to learn and then I need to practice. If I don't practice, there is no guarantee that Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam will do any shafa'at for us. Because they themselves claim that we are getting that favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that taqarrub from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that closeness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only on the grounds of itaat. If there is no itaat, we will face the hellfire too. And hence, if you want to be saved from the hellfire, you have to do itaat. You have to practice religion. Now when we talk about Iman, let me take an example here and let's proceed and try and understand what is Iman, because trying to define it in complex and superfluous words will not help. Let's say I'm suffering with a particular disease. Let's pick a simple disease, fever and headache. I go to a doctor and I tell him that I have fever and headache. He gives me medicine. I bring that medicine back home and I put it aside. Someone would say, excuse me, why are you not eating the medicine? Why are you not taking the prescription? He says, I went to the doctor, right? That should be enough. He says, no, going to the doctor does not solve the problem. He says, why do you say that? Like, until and unless you eat the medicine, it's not going to work. Fair enough. And still, he does not take the prescription. Now the person standing and watching, he can derive only two conclusions. Either that he is really not interested in the prescription, or that he does not believe in the doctor. He does not believe in the prescription itself, that the prescription will cure him. That means he does not have Iman on the doctor and he does not have Iman on the prescription. By going to the doctor, he might have expressed that I have Iman on you, but by not eating the prescription, he is still indicating that I don't have Iman on you. How does that relate to us? I have accepted Islam. Great. You went to the doctor. And then I have all the wajibat and muharramat to take care of, which is my prescription. But I don't take the prescription. I just keep it aside. Now, either we don't believe in wajibat and muharramat, and we're saying that they are not going to have any impact on me. The wajibat are not going to elevate my status, and the muharramat are not going to bring me down to the state of kal anam that we've already discussed. Or that by not doing so, I'm indicating that I don't believe in Islam. I don't have Iman on the doctor himself. I don't have Iman on the Prophet. So Iman means not just the fact that we accept the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajum, as a prophet, but to obey him and practice what he has asked us to practice. By not practicing, we are indicating that we do not believe in him. And this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala points towards Surah Baqarah, verse number 8. He says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. From among you, there are some who claim that they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and akhirat, but truly they are not the believers. He's not referring to mushrikeen. He's not referring to kafirin. He's referring to those who believe in Allah and akhirat, who claim to do so, who are none other than the Muslims. And he's saying that you're just claiming while you're not the believers. How can he say that? Because he's looking at our amal. He's saying your amal is showing it to me that you do not believe, though you claim to believe. Hence, Iman and no amal does not make sense at all. Iman is always followed by amal. It has to. If you say I have Iman and there is no amal, that means you do not have Iman. Hence, if I am claiming that I have Iman, I have to show the amal with it. Only then it is proven that yes, I do have Iman. Without amal, there is no Iman. Hence, the verifying, the qualifying criteria for mu'mineen is amal. Amal and amal. Please recite a salawat, please. And that's why, I don't know how many of you have downloaded that software that I mentioned about zikr.org. If you go there, you can download this software that can be installed on your computers. If you run a search there for Iman and Amalus Saleh, you will find at least 52 ayats in Holy Quran, which goes, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu wa amilus salihat, allazina amanu wa amilus salihat, allazina amanu wa amilus salihat. So much so that the moment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes the term amanu, immediately followed by it is amalus salihat. There is no gap in it. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, who do so and so, or who are like this and that, and amalus salihat. No. Everywhere he mentions Iman, it is immediately followed by amalus salihat. That means Iman has to be followed by amalus salihat. If there is no amalus salihat, there is no Iman. Quran is the living verifier of what we want to say. Now some people come around and say, sir, this is not true, it's all about Aqidah. If you have it in your heart, that's enough. I have Aqidah in my heart. Amal is all just show off, it's riyakari, I have Aqidah in my heart, that should do. I would tell them, you know what? Your statement does not even qualify for our worldly affairs. What makes you think that it will qualify for the afterlife affairs? Example, a young man, after completing his graduation, he says, I want to become a doctor. Great, that's a wonderful goal and vision that you have. Alright. A month later, you meet him, he says, I want to become a doctor. He says, excellent, lovely. 3 months later, he says, I want to become a doctor. He says, great, but what are you doing about it? Have you applied in some college? He says, no. Then you say, why? He says, I have it in my heart. I strongly believe in it. I have a deep attachment to become a doctor. He says, sir, till you get up from your seat, go to the college, take the application form, fill it, write the test. There is no way you will become a doctor. No. By writing the test also, you don't become the doctor. You have to study and go through the hardship and qualify as an MBBS. Then you become the doctor. No. You only get the certificate there which says you are an MBBS. You're not a doctor. We don't call you doctor. When do we call you doctor? When you start practicing. Even in worldly affairs, this doesn't work. Be it a lawyer or an engineer and a doctor, whoever it is, you only get the degree. You are a Muslim. But when you practice, that's when you say you are a Mu'min. There's a difference. Please recite a salawat. And that's why in Holy Quran, when it comes to Amal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Zilzal, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Mithqal at those times was the smallest quantity. And in today's world, if I want to translate that, it would be atom's weight. Let's say that. So whoever does an atom's weight of good, he will be rewarded. Whoever does an atom's weight of bad will be punished. Now if you say Aqidah is enough, what is all this Amal and all you're talking about? Then this ayat makes no sense. Why is it there? It is bihude. It is pointless in Holy Quran. That means we are saying that Holy Quran has certain set of ayats which has no meaning in it. Which is not right. Quran is the true book. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that your amal counts, even an atom's weight. All of it. There is no excuse to it. And when we talk about amalus saleh, we need to understand that amal has two aspects to it. One is ahkam ilahi and one is the aspect of akhlaq. When we talk about akhlaq, it's not the definition that we have about, respecting parents, respecting elders, eating with your right hand, walking, starting with your right leg, foot. And these are all good to have. But the akhlaq that Islam talks about is purification of nafs. Right? So on one hand, we have ahkam ilahi, and on the other hand, we have purification of nafs. Now what is ahkam-e ilahi? Ahkam-e ilahi is all those ahkam and practical laws of Islam and rulings that are found in Tawziul Masail. We are expected to refer to them and follow them. And what is purification of nafs? Purification of nafs is to purify our nafs from the razail, the behavior patterns which are not recommended in Islam, which takes you away from being a Kareem person, being a human being, if I have to put it truly in this form. Those characteristics which, if you have in you, take you away from being a human being and take you one level down. We've referred to the ayats yesterday, kal an'am. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, worse than that. So purification of nafs means getting rid of these behavior patterns, these characteristics, and adapting, acquiring those characteristics that will take you away from this state of being a normal human being towards being nafsul mutma'inna. Ya ayyuhatun nafsul mutma'inna irji ila rabbik. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to this state of reaching the highest level. That when you reach there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, enough. You've reached where you were supposed to reach. Now it's time for you to return to me, not to Jannah. You're not expected to go to Jannah. You're supposed to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a greater reward than Jannah itself. In Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to Surah Shams and He says, Qad aflaha man zakkaha. Now this aflaha comes from root word falah, which means to be victorious. There are other places in Holy Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to this term of falah. In Surah Baqarah, verse number 5, He says, Ulaika humul muflihun. Again, falah. Now there's a huge difference between saying Ulaika humul muflihun, they themselves are victorious, and because it's a repetition, it's generally translated as they are victorious. And qad aflaha man zakka, certainly they are victorious, those who purify themselves. Now something even better is that before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals this ayat, He swears upon 11 of His namat. He swears on the sun, He swears on the moon, He swears on the sky, He swears on the nafs of human beings, so on and so forth. He swears on 11 things. The only place in Holy Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sworn upon 11 elements is Surah Shams. No other place has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasized a certain act by so much emphasis that He has sworn upon 11 things. Swearing upon 11 things emphasizes a great importance on the act which is about to follow it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Qad aflaha man zakkaha. That means, for every time He's sworn on a thing, you can think of it this way. Certainly, 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 11 times. Then He says, those who purify their nafs are victorious. That's how important is purification of nafs. We might have amal in place, but if we do not have purification of nafs, these amal, their weightage would be very, very minimal. Because there is a probability of ujb, conceitedness. There's a probability of riyakari. There's a probability of takabbur. There's a probability of infaq. But if you work on purification of nafs, and you perform these very acts with a purified nafs, then you perform them only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with absolute ikhlas. Please recite a salawat. And contrary to this ayat, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Qad aflaha man zakkaha, He says, about those who do not purify their nafs, He says, I'm going to translate that for you. He says, have you seen him who has taken his desires, hawa nafs, to be his God? Have you seen this kind of a person who's taken hawa nafs to be his God? Is it your duty to watch over him? And then he says, do you suppose that most of them listen or exercise their reason? They are just like cattle. Kal an'am. They are just like cattle. Indeed, they are further astray from the way, from the right path. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, those who purify, they are victorious. Those who do not purify and stay the way they are, they allow their desires to rule them. They allow their desires to be their rulers and God. They are like cattle, no further astray from it. And hence, if we want to truly help Imam Zamana, we are talking about that how do I turn around and help Imam Zamana? If we truly want to learn how to help Imam Zamana, first, we need to have Iman in Deen. Second, we need to learn Usul-e-Deen and Furu-e-Deen and practice it. Third, purification of nafs. If we don't do that, we won't be able to help the Imam the way he wants us to help him. That's something that we need to ponder upon. Now here I'm going to share a short story about a shaheed. And a lot of people, when they listen to what I've just spoken about, of purification of nafs and all that, they say, Maulana, what are you talking in these days, in this world, with this kind of environment? What purification? It's impossible. That's not going to happen. No, that's not true. We have living examples of those people who were able to achieve that status and not far away. Just about 25, 30 years ago. And if I quote an example of any of the scholars like Allama Tabatabai or Ayatollah Khuwi or Sheikh Mirza Qazi, you would say, they were scholars, they were ulama, they are supposed to do that, they must have done it. No, I'm going to quote a story of an ordinary person. A very simple ordinary person. His name is Burunsi. He's from a small town, small village in Iran. His name is Burunsi. Now the story of Shaheed Burunsi is this way. That he's a farmer. He works in a farm. He does not own any land. He works in somebody else's farm. And the ruler of Iran at that time was Shah. Shah suddenly one day declares that I notice in Iran there are people who have lots of land and there are people who does not have any land. Zero. And I think this is injustice. Hence, I'm going to take all the land under my control. All your proprietorship will be annulled. No one is owner of any land. All land belongs to me. And then I will distribute it among all the citizens justfully. A lot of people were impressed. They said, wow, excellent. What a justful ruler. And a lot of people were very happy that, oh, we have no land at all. We've been working on others' land and shedding sweat and blood and hardly get any revenue. Great, now we will have our own land. So the officers of Shah come to the village of Shaheed Burunsi and they're distributing the land. It's generally after Friday prayers. Now everybody goes and collects their document for the land. Shaheed Burunsi doesn't go. People are like, where is Burunsi? Where is Burunsi? No idea. The officers say, okay, no worries, we'll come next week. Next week, Burunsi is again missing. Third week, Burunsi is again missing. And people suddenly realize that Burunsi is trying to escape this event of getting land. So they go to him and say, Burunsi, why don't you come and collect the land? He says, no, I'm not interested. He said, what do you mean not interested? Baba, you're getting land, you're working on someone else's land like a farmer, dying, sweating. You're getting free land, why don't you want it? And surprisingly, the piece of land that he was getting was supposed to be the most fertile and the best land available in the village. He says, no, I'm not interested. Next week, when the officers were supposed to come, they contacted the Sarpanch, if you want to call it that way, and says, make sure Burunsi is there. Baba, we've been coming for 4 weeks, is this mazak or what? So they call Burunsi and say, Baba, go and collect the land. He says, no, I can't. Say, why? What's the problem? He says, look, this land is not the property of Shah. He's a ghasib of land. He has grasped that land from rightful owners, and now he's acting like a justful ruler and distributing it to me or others, for which he does not have any ownership. I can't take it. Now the owner of that land, to whoever that land belongs, he comes to Burunsi and says, Burunsi, if you think that my piece of land which is coming to you will make me upset and I will be narazi with you on the day of judgment, no, that is not the case. I am razi with it. Go and collect it. And then slowly people start pouring to Burunsi's house, and they start building that pressure that tomorrow the officers are going to come, go and take the land. He does not reply. In the middle of the darkness of the night, he takes his family and flees from the town. He leaves the town. He goes to Mashhad. He starts working at a sabzi shop, vegetable shop. And after 2 days, he quits the job and comes back home and tells his wife, I've quit the job. You've quit the job? Why did you quit the job? He says, I noticed that this vegetable seller, he sprinkles excessive water on the vegetable so that when he weighs it, the water is also counted. Therefore, this is not halal risk, and I'm not willing to eat haram risk. So I've quit the job. But you'll have to still find a job, huh? You'll have to do something. We can't be empty stomach. We've left our village. We didn't bring anything along with us. He says, don't worry. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. He will work out a solution. He will find something for us. A day later, he finds a job at a dairy shop. Next day, he quits it again. Wife says, now what? He says, this guy mixes water and milk, and he sells outdated products as still valid products, which is not right. This risk is not halal risk, and I am not willing to feed my family with haram risk. Then wife says, fine, whatever, but you still have to find a job. He says, fine. He goes out, he's looking for a job. 3 days later, he comes home with a very, very wide smile on his face and totally drenched in sweat and totally drained out of energy. He comes home and tells his wife, I have a very good news for you. She says, what? He says, I found a job. She says, excellent. What job? He says, I have become in Hindi we call hamal, right? In English, I don't know what's the term, but I've become that person who lifts the bricks from the ground floor and carries it all the way to the 3rd floor, and I've got a job at a construction site. The wife says, what kind of a man are you? You had a very comfortable job at a sabzi shop. You quit that. You had a very comfortable job at a dairy shop. You quit that. And this job, which drains you out, which sweats you to the core, you get that job, you come home with a wide smile saying that I got a job, I'm happy. I don't understand. Burunsi says, Azizam, in this job, I am absolutely certain that not a single riyal is mal of haram. Because I lift my bricks, I carry them upstairs, I come down and I am shedding my sweat. And I can swear to Allah that not a single paisa of this is haram. And now I can peacefully sleep at night. Amalus Saleh. This is Amalus Saleh. Making sure that you abide by the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Making sure that you stick to the rules and regulations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Making sure that you not only do the ahkam but also follow the akhlaq. Very concerned about the purified nafs. Not willing to allow a single rupee, a single paise of haram food, shubhenak food to go inside. Not just himself but also his family. This is Amalus Saleh. Maybe some other time I would tell you that after taking care of himself in this way, how did Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam blessed him with ne'mats that he would not forego for anything that would be given to him in the world. Maybe tomorrow or something like that. Similarly, I would like to quote a story of Zuhair ibn Qayn. He was at the time of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. His story is quite close to Burunsi's story. But let me tell you how this worked. Zuhair was a person who truly believed that Imam Ali had a hand in the murder of Usman. And then he said, I think this is a dicey situation. I want to stay away from Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Imam Hussain alayhi salam. I don't want to have anything to do with them. And then he found out that Imam Hussain alayhi salam has decided to rise up against Yazid. And Zuhair was also on his way to Hajj. And he knew that somewhere, some point I would be meeting Imam, and I don't want to meet him, because if I meet him in a way, directly or indirectly, he will invite me to come with him. And I don't want to be part of this battle. So he avoided Imam in all possible ways. But unfortunately, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they ended up landing at one specific place, because there was no water for a very long distance ahead. So they were forced to take position near that water resort, oasis or whatever. And Imam finds out that Zuhair is also in a nearby tent. So he sends one of his messengers and says, go talk to Zuhair and invite him. The messenger of Imam comes to the tent of Zuhair, enters it, and he sees that Zuhair and his friends are having dinner. And he says, Zuhair, Imam invites you. He wants to meet you. And Zuhair freezes in this state. He's not able to move. He's not eating, he's not putting it down. Why? Because he doesn't want to go and meet Imam. So he can't say, yes, I will come. And if he says, no, I will come, it's a clear declaration that I am not with Imam. And Imam is Farzand of Rasulullah Khuda sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So how can I just straight away say no? And he's stuck. And he stays like that for long enough that people realize that he doesn't want to say yes, and he's not able to say no. And his wife notices and realizes this, and from behind the parda, she says, Zuhair, don't you feel ashamed? Son of Bibi Zahra is calling you, and you're giving it a second thought? Get up and go. Zuhair, with a very crossed face, leaves his food, goes to meet Imam Hussain. A couple of people accompany him to the tent of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Zuhair goes in. It is not recorded in history that what discourse happened between Imam Hussain alayhi salam and Zuhair. What did Imam tell him? What was the discussion? What did he remind him of? Whatsoever. But when Zuhair comes out, his friend says, the Zuhair that went in is not the Zuhair that came out. He walks hurryingly towards his tent, goes there, dresses up, puts on his armor, takes his sword, and starts writing his will. Says, distribute my wealth to certain people. This goes to so-and-so, this goes to so-and-so, this goes to so-and-so. And this is what I'm going to take along with me to Imam's tent. And he calls his wife. He says, I'm giving you divorce. Because I know that I'm going to go with Imam and I'm going to be martyred. And I don't want you to remain stuck. So I am divorcing you, you are free to go. I have to go. My Imam is calling me. And the wife says, Zuhair, as long as you were attached to dunya, you tagged me along with you. Now when you're joining the Haqq and you're joining Iman, you want to leave me behind? No, I will come with you. And they went and joined the army of Imam. And he stayed with Imam till the day of Ashura. And he was martyred on the plains of Karbala. When we feel that call of Imam or call of Iman in ourselves, sometimes we tell ourselves that, oh, I'm stuck with this. I have this task. I just invested. I just started a new company. I just had a newborn. It's just 1 day old baby. I just got married. But sometimes, maybe we should just turn around and say, none of this matters. My Imam is calling me. That matters. My Imam is important to me. That matters. Just like Zuhair was wafadar, there were other ashabs who were wafadar to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. One of them was Habib ibn Mazahir. Imam writes letter to Habib and he says, اے حبیب میں جانتا ہوں کہ تم کوفے میں میرے منتظر ہو, میں جانتا ہوں کہ تم تیار ہو اور میرا انتظار کر رہے ہو, لیکن ہائے میں کیا کروں, ظالم نے میرا راستہ روک لیا, کوفیوں نے اپنا دروازہ مجھ پہ بند کر دیا, مجھے رخ پلٹنا پڑ رہا ہے. حبیب مجھے تمہاری مدد کی ضرورت ہے, میں غربت میں ہوں حبیب, میری مدد کے لیے آؤ. امام چاہتے تھے کہ حبیب امام کی غربت سمجھے, تو امام لکھتے ہیں, ایک جملہ لکھتے ہیں حبیب علی کی بیٹیاں میرے ساتھ ہیں, حبیب فاطمہ کی بیٹیاں میرے ساتھ ہیں, حبیب میں تمہاری مدد چاہتا ہوں, آ جاؤ میری مدد کے لیے آ جاؤ. حبیب خط پڑھتے جاتے ہیں, روتے جاتے ہیں, حبیب خط پڑھتے جاتے ہیں, اشک بہاتے جاتے ہیں. حبیب کی زوجہ پوچھتی ہے, حبیب کیا ہوا, کیوں رو رہے ہو؟ حبیب کہتے ہیں امام کا خط آیا ہے, میرے مولا کا خط آیا ہے. تو بھی زوجہ کہتی ہے حبیب یہ تو خوشی کی بات ہے, مولا کا خط آیا ہے, کیوں رو رہے ہو؟ تو حبیب کہتے ہیں تم جانتی نہیں ہو مولا کیا لکھتے ہیں, مولا لکھتے ہیں کہ میں غربت میں ہوں, مولا لکھتے ہیں میں تمہاری مدد چاہتا ہوں, مولا لکھتے ہیں علی کی بیٹیاں میرے ساتھ ہیں, غریب ہو گیا ہوں. تو حبیب کی زوجہ اس سے پوچھتی ہے حبیب پھر کیا خیال ہے؟ تو حبیب کہتے ہیں سوچتا ہوں جا کر قبیلے کے سرداروں سے مشورت کروں. فوراً زوجہ جواب دیتی ہے حبیب میں نے پوری زندگی تمہارے ساتھ بتائی ہے, لیکن ایسا حبیب نہیں دیکھا کہ جس کا مولا اسے بلائے اور وہ جانے کے لیے تیار نہ ہو. تو حبیب کہتے ہیں نہیں میں تو حتماً جانے والا تھا, صرف جاننا چاہتا تھا کہ تم راضی ہو یا نہیں ہو. حبیب اپنے غلام کو گھوڑا دیتے ہیں, کہتے ہیں جا کر کوفے کے دروازے پر میرا انتظار کرو, میں بس آتا ہوں اور ہم ساتھ میں نکلیں. کسی وجہ سے حبیب کو دیر ہو جاتی ہے, غلام گھوڑا لے کر کھڑا ہوا ہے اور کچھ دیر بعد اسے لگتا ہے شاید حبیب نہیں آئیں گے. تو گھوڑے کے نزدیک جا کر گھوڑے کے کان میں کہتا ہے اے حبیب کے گھوڑے, اے میرے مالک کے گھوڑے, میں جانتا ہوں کہ تم ان کی ملکیت ہو, لیکن میں ڈرتا ہوں شاید وہ نہیں آئے, مجھے اجازت دے دو میں تم پہ سوار ہو کے امام کے پاس چلے جاؤں. امام غربت میں ہے, ان کے ساتھ بیبیاں ہیں. اسی وقت حبیب پہنچتے اور کہتے وائے وائے میرا مولا, کیسی غربت میں ہے کہ ایک غلام کو ان پہ رحم آتا ہے, اور غلام کہتا ہے کہ میں تمہاری مدد کے لیے آؤں گا. جو جہان کا مالک ہے اس پہ آج غلام رحم کر رہے ہیں. یا حسین, حبیب سوار ہوتے ہیں اپنے غلام کے ساتھ, مولا کی خدمت میں پہنچتے ہیں, خود کو زمین پہ گراتے ہیں اور رونا شروع کرتے ہیں. کہتے ہیں مولا آپ کی غربت پہ روتا ہوں, مولا آپ کی مشکلات پہ روتا ہوں. بی بی زینب کو پتہ چلا کاروان رک گیا. بی بی نے پوچھا کیا ہوا, پھر کسی نے ہمارا کاروان روک لیا؟ تو خبر ملی کہ کوفہ سے کوئی آیا ہے, کوفہ سے کوئی آیا ہے. کہتے پتہ کرو کون آیا ہے. معلوم پڑا حبیب آیا ہے. تو بی بی زینب کہتی ہے جاؤ حبیب کو میرا سلام پہنچا. جیسے ہی حبیب کو سلام ملتا ہے حبیب سر پیٹنے لگتے ہیں, خاک سر پہ ڈالنے لگتے ہیں. کہتے ہیں یہ حبیب کا مقام کہاں, وہ بی بی کا مقام کہاں. بی بی آپ نے مجھے سلام بھیجا, میں آپ کی خدمت میں حاضر ہوں. یوم عاشورہ جنگ کے لیے جاتے ہیں, امام پر قربان ہو جاتے ہیں. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. خدا لعنت کرے ظالمین پر, خدا لعنت کرے دشمنان اہل البیت پر. خدایا تیری بارگاہ میں دعا کرتے ہیں کہ ہمارے اندر بھی حبیب جیسا جذبہ پیدا کر دے, کہ اپنے امام کے لیے ہم ہماری دنیا کی ہر چیز کو چھوڑ کر ہماری امام کی خدمت میں پہنچ جائے. خدایا جو ضعیف ہے ان کو توانائی عطا فرما, جو بیمار ہے ان کو شفا عطا فرما, جو قرض دار ہے ان کے قرض دور فرما, جو ضعیف اور بوڑھے ان کو طول العمر عطا فرما. एक सूरह फातिहा बराए जुमला मोमिन व मोमिनात पर।